teacher now. Welcome. Thanks so much for coming to this session this afternoon. Thanks so much to Grace for having me, inviting me. I'm Sonya Byers. I'm the Chief Exec of Women in Transport. We are a professional network for women working in the transport industry. Men are also welcome to join, but really our primary mission is to advance women in transport, working in the transport field. We do that through events, professional development, and mentoring, an annual mentoring program called Advance, which I'm going to talk to you a little bit about today. We've got a long-standing relationship with TfL, which goes back 14 years to when we were first founded. So I'm really delighted to be able to do this session for TfL today. So what we're going to be covering is Advance, which is our mentoring program, annual mentoring program for women in transport. A little bit about the difference between mentoring, coaching and sponsorship, which are often used interchangeably but aren't the same thing. Preparing for success, so whether you're applying for the advanced mentoring program or you're looking for a mentor yourself, how can you make the most out of that relationship? How can you prepare yourself to really take control of your own professional development? And that's what mentoring is really all about. And then we'll have a bit of time at the end for questions. We are going to do a bit of an interactive exercise, so for anybody who's at the back who doesn't have this 8 areas of life exercise, you can grab them from the empty seats towards the front. So a little bit about me before we start. This is helpful to know who I am. I've worked in transport for 18 years. I've been a member of Women in Transport for 10 years. I joined when I was a transport planner, 10 years ago. And then I've been on a volunteer as part of the board for 6 years. In January of this year, I took on a paid role as Chief Executive. So needless to say, the network has absolutely changed my life professionally. I started my career as a transport enumerator, counting cars, and I went on to be a transport planner, an engineer, and then I've gone on to do so many different roles, I can't even talk about it, but business development, marketing, sales, all sorts. But the thread through that has been women in transport. And one of the proudest things that I've ever done in my professional career is launching and designing the advanced mentoring program for women in transport. So what is Advance? It is a mentoring program designed specifically for women working in the transport industry by myself and a lady called Angela Gainsford, who used to work at TfL and is a long-standing member of Women in Transport. It's open to all women members of Women in Transport. So annual membership for Women in Transport is £60 for the year, and any member who's a woman can apply. We do, as I said, have men as part of our network, but the program is specifically designed for women and is to support women's professional development. In our first year, in the pilot year, we had 20 pairs matched, so 40 people in total, and then 2019 is just coming to an end this month, and we had 27 pairs. I'm really delighted that we've got support for a third year of Advance, and we'll be hoping to match 30 pairs. It is an incredibly popular scheme, much more popular than I expected it to be. We had 69 applications for mentees last year and 50 for mentors, and that didn't include the 13 mentors that came over to serve for a second year. So it's incredibly popular, and for that reason I'm going to talk to you about how do you kind of set your goals and set your expectations around the application process to ensure that you can be successful if you want to apply, or if you're just looking for a mentor yourself in TfL, for example, or outside in life, how you can go about that. So before I go on to that, what is mentoring compared to sponsoring, coaching, and the differences between them? It's really about the relationship between yourself and the person who takes on the opposing role. So in sponsoring, it tends to be a senior leader. They'll tend to choose the person that they want to sponsor, and it's about looking for opportunities for you and actively promoting you behind closed doors as well as visibly and publicly. So it's around looking for opportunities, looking for secondments, moving you up the chain effectively. And there's lots of examples of that within TfL. And there's actually an Our Time toolkit that's come out from the Mayor of London around what actually sponsoring is, and it's being implemented at the moment at TfL. Coaching tends to be more performance-based, and more on the soft skills side than the technical skills. And it's more two-way in that a coach can approach you to coach you for a specific skill, or you can go and seek out a coach, and they might identify areas with you that you need to particularly work on. And often you can pay a coach, and coaching sessions around £400 if you went to a formal coach. And it's often time limited, so it will have like a specific timeline, and you might only need coaching for, say, 3 sessions to be more assertive at work or to help build a team or whatever it might be. Mentoring is a bit more of a relationship, and it is very much about the mentee being in the driving seat. So that's the key difference for me, is about if you want a mentor, as a mentee, you need to take ownership of the whole process. You need to identify for yourself, what is it that you want? What do you want that mentor to do for you? How can they help you? How can they support your overall career? Beyond a specific skill, it's more about your career in a holistic way. And the relationship is really important in mentoring. So it's about building a real relationship that's about confidence and trust and respect, and being respectful of that other person's time, as well as them empathising with you and understanding your situation. And it can blur the lines between professional and personal in terms of your development. I want to share one of the experiences from our mentoring program this year. This is Yosefi. She was one of our mentees. And I thought it was really powerful what she said, that she thought that the success of the mentoring wasn't just about the pairing. So through Advance, we pair you with an individual. It was about the amount of work that she was prepared to do and how much she did to get out of it. So the work that she did between sessions was as important as being present and listening and setting her goals in the sessions themselves. So it's about your commitment to turning up, to setting the meetings, to doing the homework and everything else that goes in between. So ahead of any mentoring relationship, think about what is it that you want out of it. Ahead of any meeting that you're going to have, what are the topics are you going to cover? What are the takeaways that you need? And be proactive about it. So when we come to being proactive, we're going to do an exercise. Doesn't everybody love an exercise? Which is the 8 areas. Well, it's sometimes called the wheel of life, or the balance wheel. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to take this wheel. So everyone should have a copy of the Wheel of Life on their chairs, and if you're at the back and you haven't, there are some empty chairs here that do have them. So has anybody done this before? No? Okay. So essentially it's the idea that life, your whole life, is about balance. So at any one time, we're all going to be helter-skelter in one area of our life. It's just the nature of things. But what this is essentially a coaching tool, and it tries to give you time to reflect about where you are in different areas of life. So scoring from 1 to 10, so 1 being really unsatisfied or unfulfilled in that particular area, and 10 being 100% satisfied. Now what will happen for anybody where you score, say you scored career at a 5, and then you had significant other at an 8, if you were really happy with your partner, for example, we'll end up with a sort of score where if you join the dots around this circle, that everyone's will be a bit wonky, essentially. But that doesn't mean that, where you've got an 8, you can still identify areas of improvement there, and where you've got a 5, of course you can identify. So it's how you then start to look at goals. So if I give you 5 minutes just to consider each of these areas for yourself. You're not going to share it with anybody, so it's totally personal. So it's just time for you to reflect on what's going on for you in your own life, and how you feel about it. So just score it from 0 to 10. Is that clear? Yeah. Say that again, sorry. Physical environment. So if you thought about your home, your workplace, how does that make you feel? How satisfied are you with it? So, do you like where you work? Does it give you creativity? Does it fuel your desire to be here? That sort of thing? Yeah. Pen. In my bag. That's right. In my bag there's a pencil case. There. Yeah, just take. If anybody needs pens, I have got pens.
So this is where we see it as at today?
Yeah, as at today, yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. Do you need a pen? Yeah, do you want to just grab one out there? I'm attached to the microphone, so. Does anybody else need pens? All right. Oh, in my bag there's a pencil case there. There you go. Yeah, just grab one out of there. That's right. All right. So everyone sort of giving themselves a score for each area. Okay. So if you were to join up your dots around your wheel, so you'll probably find there's areas that are, like I say, like a spider's web. It's a bit wonky, and so the purpose of doing that exercise is to think about where are you now and where do you want to get to, and start that self-reflection of, okay, if I want to get my career from a 5 to a 10, what does that look like? What are the steps that are going to take me forward? What do I need to do that? It might be, for example, you've set yourself a goal around health to feel better, and it's feel better in yourself, to get fitter, to get more well, but how are you actually going to achieve that? And there might be small steps for you. So, making sure that you eat lunch, making sure that you do your meal prep, doing your 30 minutes of exercise a day. If you were looking at your personal development, you might set some small goals around, I'm going to listen to a motivational podcast once a week, or I'm going to read a self-development book, or I'm going to get myself a mentor. So it's starting to think about how can you move yourself outwards on that wheel and create more balance overall in your whole life. And I suppose that's where mentoring and coaching sort of cross over. So let's talk about goal setting. We've all heard of SMART goals. So they need to be specific, they need to be measurable, actionable, realistic, and timed. So when you're thinking about what do I want to get, why am I asking a mentor to help me? What do I want to get out of that process? Think about what is it in your career that you want to achieve. Now, whether that's experience in a different area, whether it's you've moved into a different role and you want to know how to act up in that role appropriately or navigate it, whatever it might be, identify what it is and write it down. Write down a clear description of what it is, so that when you go to your mentor or when you're applying for a mentoring program or any type of development program really, you can clearly articulate what it is you want to achieve. List the benefits. What are you going to get out of it? It sounds simplistic, but kind of visualising what the rewards are going to be for you. So for me, I'll talk about running because I'm a runner now. When I'm doing a marathon, I'm often thinking about the training is really hard. It gets a bit tough at times, but I visualise what it's going to be like when I cross that finish line, when I get that medal, when I can eat whatever I want at the end of it. That's what I think about. I think about those benefits. So, what does that benefit look like for you? What's good going to look like? What's the outcome, the reward? And that will keep you going on that journey when you're hitting obstacles. So obstacles, what can get in your way? Is it not having enough time to focus on yourself, your own personal development? We've got lots of things going on in our lives, lots of other priorities. So sometimes our own needs, our own development, our personal wants can just get lost. Is it that you don't have the right contacts or the right network or the right person, or indeed the right skills, or you don't know how to access the right people? So what are those obstacles? And then it's about how to get to that goal. So what skills do you need, what knowledge do you need, what people do you need to achieve it? And then looking at the people and groups you might work with to achieve it. So sometimes it might be that to achieve something you may need to delegate something else out of your life. So it's also looking at that. That's where that will comes into line. It might be in order for you to get balance in your career, something else needs to give somewhere else in that will. Develop a plan of action. So that's something definitely a mentor can help you with, but also you can start thinking about how are you going to get there, what are the steps, what are the small steps that you can start taking to move yourself forward. Like I say, whether that's going on a course or reading a book or starting to listen to something motivational for yourself, seeking out, joining a network, plug for women in transport, set a deadline for yourself as well. How are you going to achieve this? That doesn't mean that it's a line in the sand that can't move. It can definitely move. If other things happen in your life or other opportunities come up or whatever happens, you can move your deadline. It's not a stick with which to beat yourself up because you haven't reached something. It's an opportunity for you just to visualise where you want to go. So, this is a funny picture, but it has a serious message. So I want to talk a little bit about unconscious bias and preconceived ideas, because in our mentoring program we have men who are mentors, so 4 of them are there. And it's interesting because some of the female mentees on the programme have thought, when they've been matched with a man, they've been quite surprised by that. And it's because they can help them with a specific goal that they've identified that they want to meet. And just because they're a man, sometimes people think, they can't help me with this particular problem. I might want to talk to them about going on maternity or what happens or what the perceptions are, because the perception is they haven't gone through that themselves. But remember that they can take paternity. One of our mentors, he's actually spent the last few months researching all the different types of maternity and paternity benefits and plans there are, so that he could make a case for his wife to take maternity leave from her business. It's complicated, she's the only woman in her company, and he's taking shared parental leave. So sometimes you don't know what other people's experiences are unless you talk to them about it, and that's a part of building that relationship. So, our biases, they exist, we all have them. Our unconscious biases, whether we realise them or not, we're all shaped by our education, our environment, their experiences at work, our experience at school, wherever it is. But I'd ask you to maybe think outside the box and think about a mentor who you wouldn't necessarily expect. I remember thinking early on in my career that there weren't any women who looked like me, and there wasn't anybody that I could role model and I could look up to. But having said that, the men that have been my managers have been amazing, and some of the men that are in our network are the most incredible role models and sponsors and supporters and mentors. So just think about that. If you do end up with a man, if you went through advance, or if you're looking for a mentor yourself, sometimes it's someone unexpected who can help you, and they don't necessarily have to do the same discipline as you as well. So in advance, we match people completely outside of their organisations and outside of their field of discipline. We match them based on what you've asked for. So it might be you end up you're an engineer, you get matched with a recruiter because actually you want to look at career mapping and they're the right person to help you. So just think sometimes that there might be somebody unexpected who can help you. So some key principles of mentoring. I'll say it again because I always say it, the mentee is the driving force. It is absolutely in your control to take control of your career. And as a mentee, it's crucial that you do that you're the one that asks for the meetings, asks for a relationship, that thinks about what you want to get out of it. Don't go to a mentor and think they've got all the answers for you. Manage your expectations about what they can deliver for you, because it's not about them giving you all the answers, it's about them helping you get to an answer for yourself. It is a collaboration, it is a two-way process. It's about mutual respect. Respect their time, they will respect your time. Build a relationship, get to know each other. It's a really important, crucial part of the process. What you choose as a mentee, I think this is important. What the mentee chooses to do, learn or ignore is up to them. So ultimately, you're coming into, if you're volunteering yourself as part of a mentoring process, you don't have to take everything on board from that process. And it's not up to the mentor to drill that into you. They're not your teacher. They're not your coach. They're there almost as a foil, as a sounding board, as somebody you can go to for advice. But what you choose to do with that is totally up to you. You are in control of this process. And some results can't be measured. So, of course, in some situations, you go into a relationship, you go into a mentoring process because you want to get a new job, or you want to get a secondment, and you can measure that. You can say, yep, I achieved this. Sometimes there are things that you get out of the process that aren't so easy to measure. So for some of our mentors, for example, they've got as much out of the process as the mentees. And that's been about actually opening their eyes to what it's like for another individual, experiencing through the eyes of their mentee things that they've not experienced themselves before. I remember talking to one of the men who's a mentor and saying actually he thought he was very open. Obviously he volunteered himself for the programme. He thought he was very inclusive in the way that he works, and then he had a session and he said something and he saw his mentee sort of go back and he thought, I've said something here, my language isn't quite right. So there are some things that you're learning, but on both sides through that process, that you can't measure. So, Advance 2020. I've got some of these brochures for anybody who wants to know more about the programme. Our application's open on the 1st of October. It's an online process, so we ask everybody to fill in a form, essentially, online. You have to say in there what you want to get out of the programme, which is why I keep saying, really identify what it is you want to get out of it, because the people that get onto the programme are the ones that are really clear and put the effort into the application. The ones that can't tell us what they want, they don't get through. It's really important. And even if you're not successful, because it is a popular programme, you can use that experience to go and approach a mentor and ask them to help you. We do our selection in mid-October. So anybody who's successful for the programme will send them an email and let them know that they've been successful. We then do a 2-hour training session for all mentees and mentors in November, and the matching happens in December, and you get an opportunity to meet your mentor in December at our annual Mince Pie networking. And then meetings run January to September. Ours is quite a focused programme, so it's 6 sessions of 1 hour between January and September, and it's up to the mentee to organise those meetings. But some of our mentors and mentees have continued their relationship beyond the programme. So some of our pairs from the pilot year are still meeting 2 years on. So it's then up to you whether you carry on that relationship or not. But I would say if you want to get something out of the programme, you have to think about what you're going to do with those 6 sessions. Now, I have given Grace we've got a mentoring agreement for Advance, which sort of sets out some questions that you can ask of your mentor, and sort of think about the structure of the relationship. So Grace will share that with you, and it's really just some prompts around, what do you want to get out of the relationship, how are you going to structure the meetings, how are you going to keep in touch in between the meetings, how are you going to close down that relationship at the end.